Wiccans, and Pagans. Here is the history of Halloween, its symbols, and customs. The term Halloween dates back to 1745 and was a term created by Christians. The term actually means All Saints' Day or Saints' Evening, and it derives from the Scottish term All Hallows' Eve. Halloween originated from the ancient Celtic festival Samhain. The Celts, who now live in current-day Ireland, the UK, and northern France, celebrated their new year on the evening of October 31st and ended it on the evening of November 1st. They believed that on the night of October 31st, the dead returned to the world of the living due to the boundary between the living and dead being blurred. Samhain started its transition into Halloween on May 13th, 1609 AD, when Pope Boniface IV of Rome dedicated the Pantheon in honor of Christian martyrs and turned it into a church. While Samhain is a Celtic festival, the Romans had a celebration very similar called Lemuralia or Parentalia or Remuralia. Lemuralia is a 3-day celebration that is held on the 9th, 11th, and 13th of May. During this festival, the Romans would perform rites to exorcise their malevolent ancestors and fill for gods of the dead from their homes. It is widely believed that the holiday was Christianized in order to replace Lemuralia and was called All Martyrs' Day. All Martyrs' Day was later expanded by Pope Gregory III to include All Saints, and he changed the date from May 13th to November 1st. It is thought that Pope Gregory did this in order to replace Samhain in Celtic culture, and in the 19th century, Christianity began to take its hold and it fused itself with the ancient Celtic rites. Soon after, in 1000 AD, All Martyrs' Day was changed to All Saints' Day, and the date was again changed to November 2nd. All Saints' Day was then changed back to November 1st, with the introduction of All Souls' Day on November 2nd. October 31st, November 1st, and November 2nd became known as the 3 days of All Hallowtide, and October 31st was officially labeled as All Hallows' Eve, or as we know it today, Halloween. When Halloween first came to America, it was extremely limited in the northern colonies due to the widespread Protestant belief system. However, it was celebrated in Maryland and in the southern colonies. Nevertheless, it wasn't until the mass immigration of Irish and Scottish communities in the 19th century that Halloween became a major American holiday. Before the mass immigration, the original festivities in the southern colonies were called play parties, where stories of the dead and fortunes were told. There would also be dancing and singing. Much of the Halloween tradition we know came from European practices such as costumes and trick-or-treating. In Europe, during All Saints' Day, there would be a parade, and there the poor would beg for food, and they were given soul cakes in exchange for their prayers for the deceased. In America, this translated into children and adults dressing up and going door to door asking for food or money, and what is commonly given now, candy. Another popular Halloween tradition is the carving of jack-o'-lanterns, which historically used to be a turnip, but because pumpkins are larger and softer, Irish immigrants used pumpkins. However, in Ireland, jack-o'-lanterns were carried around by geysers in order to scare away evil spirits. There's an old Irish folklore tale about the origin of jack-o'-lanterns. There once was a man named Stinky Jack, who was an old drunkard, who managed to swindle the devil out of taking his soul. It is said that Jack convinced the devil to turn into a gold coin in order to pay his bar tab. After the devil turned into the coin, Jack carved a cross onto it to trap him in there. Other stories say that he convinced the devil to climb a tree and then carved a cross on there to keep him there. Once the devil was trapped, Jack made a deal that if he let him out, he couldn't take his soul, and the devil agreed. Once Jack died, he wasn't able to get into heaven due to his sins, and since he made that deal with the devil, Jack couldn't get into hell. So the devil tossed him an ember from hell, and Jack put it into a carved turnip, and he spends the rest of his life tricking people into death so that he may meet the devil again. Other modern imagery for Halloween, such as skulls and gravestones, comes from Christianity and Gothic and horror literature. Some examples of this is the Golgotha, which is the site where Jesus was buried and resurrected, images of memento mori on the backings of churches, and literature such as Frankenstein and Dracula. Some Halloween traditions also come from the Roman festival of Lemuralia. It was common that marriages and other events were canceled due to these days being bad luck. However, in modern traditions, activities that decided the future outcome of a woman's love life took place. Such activities were placing a ring into mashed potatoes, and whomever found the ring would become her suitor. Tossing hazelnuts into a fire with the name of each of the suitors. Whichever nut burned to ashes rather than popping or exploding, that suitor would become her husband. Throwing apple peels over one's shoulder in hope that it would spell out her suitor's initials. The use of mirrors and a candle in order to see one's future husband. A young woman would stand in front of a mirror with a candle in one hand and look over her shoulder to see if she could see her future husband. And apple bobbing. The first one who picked up an apple first is said to walk down the aisle first. Many of these traditions involve the use of spirits and practices such as divination, which was very important to the Celts, and they had abandoned those practices when converting to Christianity. In addition, the use of apples and hazelnuts were important to the Roman goddess Pomona. Pomona was a Roman goddess of fruitful abundance, and her name is derived from the Latin term for orchard fruit, which is pomum. For this reason, her main association is with apples. Apples are considered to be sacred and associated with love, magic, and death. The eve of her feast day coincides with Samhain, and this is due to the fact that when the Romans conquered the Celts, they combined the two. Lastly, witches, black cats, and Halloween are three things that go together like ice cream, sprinkles, and chocolate sauce. When Christianity took its hold over Celtic religion, the churches turned witches, who the Celts originally turned to for wisdom, spells, and rituals, into devil-worshipping beings. In America, after the Salem witch trials and the influx of Irish immigrants, the infusing of the two created the hysteria surrounding witches and Halloween. In Celtic culture, cats were used in a number of rituals, and they preferred to use black male cats. In addition, those who committed bad deeds, it is said that they would turn into cats as punishment, and in some cases, people were turned into black cats as the result of black magic. There are a number of superstitions that surround black cats. Some of them are: crossing paths with a black cat was considered bad luck, especially for brides and everyone on New Year's, unless you were a sailor. Then it's considered good luck. If a cat washes themselves, then it will rain. If a cat dies in the house, then the owner will follow shortly after. Although cats were not highly valued, they were treated with caution because they were seen as beings with great power, and they tended to be highly vengeful. They were also seen as being fairies or evil beings or the devil himself in disguise. It is also said that witches were able to turn themselves into cats or other animals such as bats. Black cats are now common household pets, but they still live up to their hype and superstitions for many people. They have also been used in movies and shows as familiars to modern-day witches. And that is a history of Halloween, its symbols and customs. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Stay wicked, my friends.